Hello, my name is Adib Chaudhry, and my group members are Emily Gu and Katie Bushy. The title of our research, sponsored by PigMath, is Voronoi Model of Tissue Regeneration. The field of regenerative medicine, which attempts to create new organs by using a patient's own cells, has seen a lot of progress over the last decade, including the first clinical trials using both embryonic and stem cells. Yet there's still considerable strides which need to be made before these treatments which regenerate or replace human cells can establish normal function. As part of that engineering process, we need to be able to predict the path that the growing tissue is going to take as the cells are multiplying and growing. In this regard, the Voronoi diagram may add value if it can accurately predict the geometry, the forces, and the dynamics of cell growth. A lot of previous literature has used Voronoi diagrams for models of cell organization because Voronoi diagrams are mathematically well defined and they fit well into sheets of packed and polygon-shaped cells. These reasons and properties motivate our research into whether Voronoi diagrams are a good model for tissue regeneration. Firstly, we define Voronoi diagrams as partitions of a plane into convex polygons such that each polygon contains exactly one generating point, and every point in the given polygon is closer to its generating point than to any other. Zhu and colleagues studied the distribution of random Voronoi tessellations and found that the average Voronoi cell in a given tessellation is similar to a hexagon with the expected number of sides is 5.98 and the expected vertex angle is at 119.76. In order for our Voronoi cells to be a good model for biological cells, our Voronoi cells need to have similar shapes and areas and relatively equal side strengths, which we define as the length of each side, which is shared with a neighbor, as that seems to be an important determinant for nutrient sharing among neighboring cells. We achieve this by starting with 100 random Voronoi cells and equalizing their areas. And our final distribution, we have perimeter and angles which fit into gamma, or normal distributions, and our mean number of sides is close to our expected mean of 6. By comparing the biological cell distribution with our final Voronoi cell distribution, we think that Voronoi diagrams are worth further investigation as a model for tissue regeneration. I'll pass it on to Katie to continue with methods.
Okay, so right now I'm going to talk more in detail about how we approach our project. So our group chose to use a program called MATLAB, and we first of all started by defining a 30.30 boundary, and then we use this program to generate 100 points. So here is a graph that shows a sample of Voronoi diagram based on these 100 points. And next, we move on to automation process, and this is also our main process in our project. So the whole point of this automation is for us to get a final diagram such that every cell would have the equal area. And we approach this problem by first of all identify the cell that has the largest absolute area difference compared to the average area, which is 9 in our study. And here I just give you an example of the largest cell, and it's handled in red. And our next step is to identify the surrounding cells surrounding that red cell, and it's handled in green. So the reason why we want to highlight those surrounding cells is that those are the cells that we are moving in order to control the area of the largest red cell. So to move all the surrounding cells into the largest cell in order to control the area, the direction of the movement for each of the cells is along the line that connects the center of these 2 points. So for example, in this diagram, this green cell would move at this direction into this red cell in order to make it smaller, and the same thing applies for every other green cells. And the distance for those movement is also depends on how large the difference of the area of the cell and the average cell is. So for example, if the cell is very different from 9, then we would move the distance to be 0.3 times the distance between the two centers. If the difference is very small, then the distance of this move would only be 0.1 times the center of the distance. And we will do this process over and over again until we know that all the cells in this diagram have the area that is within a certain tolerance level. So in our study, we define the tolerance level to be 15% times the average cell area. So the main output for our program is, first of all, is a diagram both before and after the automation process. And we want to output all those diagrams because we want to compare the distribution before and after the process, and to see whether the distribution of the cells will change. And we also have the perimeters, the angles, the cell length, and the cell area. And we would use all those data to plot in a distribution function and to see the characteristics of the Bolanos cells. And to move our project even further, we also add additional points into our diagram. And we want to compare, if we add more points, how would that change the distribution of cells for our diagram. And next is Katie.
So ultimately, we were able to equalize the area of 100 different cells in different Bolanos diagrams within a 15% tolerance of the average area. And so what we were able to do from here is generate 67 finalized images or equalized Bolanos diagrams, and we were able to take data with regards to the interior angles, the perimeter, and the side strengths, as well as the number of sides, and use this data to determine statistical properties of these Bolanos diagrams. Then we were able to also compare these to the different results in previously found studies in randomized Bolanos diagrams. So ultimately, we found the perimeter by calculating the perimeter of every single cell and within a Bolanos diagram and then averaging it out. And then we were able to find the distribution by plugging this data into a code, which then ran through 13 or so continuous distributions and spits out the best 4 that have the best fit for the data. So here, when we averaged it out, we were able to get a perimeter mean of 14 approximately, and we were able to find that the best fit for this distribution was the generalized extreme value, with the next best being gamma. And this compared to a randomized one, which was found in studies to be gamma. So next we were able to calculate the angles by finding the interior angles of every single cell and then averaging those out. We got approximately 116 degrees. And then by finding the distribution, we were able to get the generalized extreme value as the best fit for our data. This compared to the previous studies the previous studies found the mean as around 120 degrees, and it was distributed gamma. And one main reason for this difference could be that there was a spike. We found a spike around 90 degrees, which could be from implementing our boundaries, which essentially added at least 4 90-degree angles to every single Bolanos diagram. Then we found the side strengths, which, as stated before, are just the side lengths between boundaries neighboring cells. And so what we were able to do is find the distribution of those, which turned out to be a Nakagami distribution, and found a mean of 2.18. And so there was a spike around 0, like around between 0 and 1 towards the lower end. And this is probably due to our forced boundaries as well, because what we ended up doing is when you force boundaries, you cut side lengths in half, and that would end up leading to a smaller number and a smaller mean. And the difference this may lead to the divergence from the studies that we were able to find for randomized Bolanos diagrams, as those were found to be gamma distributed. So ultimately, we also found the number of sides, which we calculated the number of sides for every single Bolanos diagram and then divided them by the number of cells. And we came to about 5.6, whereas in the randomized studies, they came to about around 6. And so what ended up happening there is we may think that those random studies used thousands, hundreds of thousands of points, and we only used 100. So that may lead to disparity there. So finally, we decided we added one more center to an equalized Bolanos diagram of 100 cells. And what we did there is to see how this affects the cell arrangement. And what we found is there were very localized changes when we added 1, and then we also added an additional 5 points to 105 points. And what we found there is there was much more local changes, but there were still very localized changes to the Voronoi diagram in the areas and distributions of those. And the reason we kind of did this was because when cells start to multiply and divide when it comes to tissue regeneration, that's kind of the process that's going to happen there. Now I'm going to pass it back to Adib to close it out.
Thank you, Katie. I want to reiterate that we find Voronoi diagrams to be a good foundational model for tissue regeneration. To be able to build upon this model, we need to add certain physical constraints which would resemble the environments of biological cells. For example, we could implement conservation of volume to exemplify the presence of an incompressible fluid inside each cell. Or we could attempt to maintain the balance of forces at 0 so that the system ends up being non-accelerating. And finally, I would like to thank Big Math for sponsoring our project, Professor Bolanos for advising us throughout this process, and our industry liaison, Derek King from Decker Research and Development. Thank you.
I'm so sorry. I couldn't